How do people overcome a pandemic? They pivot. Businesses and communities coming together, paying it forward during a time of crisis. At the heart of the COVID-19 pandemic, volunteers have demonstrated an exceptional display of solidarity across America. Responding to calls for help from their local communities, these Good Samaritans are everyday heroes.
Community service is definitely challenging to do during the pandemic because community involves face-to-face interaction. It involves people helping people. It's not something that we're just going to put on the back burner. It's something that's needed more than ever. So whatever way, and following the guidelines, of course, whatever way we can make it safe.
My name is Dave Bine. I'm the Director of Food and Training Services for Eva's Village. We previously would serve 8 people sitting at one table in about 40 tables, so about 300 people at a time in our dining room. Now, we obviously can't do those numbers, so we pivot to an outdoor model. We are serving our community to go, and we're trying to make it where the meal is still as good a meal as it was pre-pandemic. We're giving extras when we have them, so any kind of baked goods, or sometimes we get candy donations, and whatever we can give to make it a little bit better as a sort of a thank you for cooperating with us and going along with this big change in what you were used to for 30 years.
You need a brown bag with that.
Brown bag.
Thank you.
It means a lot because people, we were in such a tough situation. We were in a great situation, but then once COVID, she lost her job. And this has been absolutely a salvation for us. And we haven't missed a day since the pandemic started. And if it wasn't for them, we probably would be in a lot bad situation health-wise.
And mentally.
And mentally, because it does help mentally with the stress,
Hello, I'm Chef David Burke, celebrity chef, restaurateur, and today I'm sitting at Drift House by David Burke in Seabright, New Jersey. Our first thing is to make sure we can help the people in need, the first responders, the healthcare workers. So that's what we did first. We fed several hospitals in New York City, several hospitals in New Jersey, Bergen County, Monmouth County, and Essex County, because we have restaurants in all those areas, thousands of meals a day. We did a deal with, we did something called Feed the Heroes. We created our own platform. Tons of our connections had food too in their warehouses. They needed to use it. Some got donated. As the old saying goes, behind every great chef there is a sous chef or a puppet. Lefto's here. Lefto has been my main man during the pandemic. When it started, we started cooking. He was a big part of Feed the Heroes. One of the things I've learned through the pandemic and when I was created or taken out of my box was I was given hope. I was sitting in a box for a long time, and DB over here picked me up, put me to work, gave me hope, and now that I'm on my 2 feet sometimes and able to cook and share and learn, and the more I learn, the more I know, the more I know, the more I can help people. So I appreciate that. And if you know anything and you're able to help people, please pass it on. Pass it on, help people. This is the time. You'll get some happiness out of it. Who knows what comes from good things.
My name is Jason Hendrickson. I'm the senior pastor of the Restoration Tabernacle located here in Brooklyn, New York. When the pandemic started, I was in the midst of traveling as a full-time musician, preacher, and public speaker. As a result of the pandemic, all of the travel restrictions that were inflicted upon us, I had to stop moving around the country, and it kind of dried up some of my resources. So I said, okay, I have to try something else. So I had this idea to try to develop my own recipe for banana pudding. Next thing you know, what started out as a joke turned into a full-fledged business. The income that I make from it is put right back into the church to keep the ministry afloat, because the parishioners have not all come back yet. And so if the people are not here, especially some of our older members, they're not into the Cash Apps and to the Zelle. So financially, we had to figure out another way to stay afloat, because these lights have to stay on, employees still have to be paid. So we were able to do a lot of that through banana pudding sales. So it was pretty amazing how we pivoted it to start doing that in the pandemic.
I'm Brian Schwartz from Wayne, New Jersey. Started up the website iwanttomow.com. Yeah, in the summer of 2020, I was laid off. A few days later, I was just moping around, depressed, trying to figure out life. Have a newborn son with my wife. Instead of sitting around, I just wanted to do something good. Got more people reaching out, wanting to volunteer. Anyone that needs help with their yard, senior citizens, and that's even transpired into veterans and anyone that's disabled, needing help. So this lady, she heard about us on the radio. Her neighbors complained, so she had a court summons to appear. So the last thing we want to hear about is an 84-year-old having to appear in court. She's been living alone, all of her family's down south, and she hasn't been able to find help. All the landscaping companies that had reached out to her were giving her quotes upwards of $700 to $1,000. I mean, so for a senior citizen living on a fixed income, that's a lot for anyone. I feel like just putting some good out into the universe, it eventually comes back in some way, shape, or form. Not sure what, just following my heart.
My name is Brittany Woodrum. Climbed all 58 of Colorado's 14ers, so that's mountains above 14,000 feet. I'm currently a grad student at the University of Denver, focusing on humanitarian assistance. Because we're in the midst of a pandemic, it did not mean that disasters just disappeared overnight. I was climbing them all for a charity called Shelter Box. So the box is very iconic. It's very central to who they are as an organization, as well as their mission. The idea is that they could fit everything that a family would need to survive inside of this box. In terms of elevation gained, it was something like 232,000 feet of elevation gain, which is like doing Mount Everest 8 times or something. Climbing so many of these mountains was more of a battle of, or like more of a mental challenge than a physical challenge. Just trying to convince yourself to always put one foot in front of the other. And if I could do that, I always knew I could make it to the top.
My name is Sawyer Van Houten. I'm 10 years old and I'm in the 5th grade and I'm from South Londonderry, Vermont. We would go on walks every day. We have this little trail in our backyard that goes from the top of our hill to the bottom. My mom wanted to go on that. I didn't want to go, so she suggested bringing the camera. So we just went in the woods and I took pictures, and that's how it started. Then it got bigger and bigger, and then some people started asking for photos. I took some photos of a send-off. 2 kids were going to be in the Army.
What about the food bank?
And that happened by accident. We learned about it through Facebook and just got a produce box, and since we brought our camera everywhere, we took some shots and they were really cool, and so I shared them with the group, and then they asked if we would come to their meal distribution, and then he's asked to do some farm projects from the vendors. We haven't done that yet, but we hope to help him with his website.
It could be a terrible time, but it could also, but there are always good parts about it.
Hi, I'm Jessie Allen. I'm with my husband, Michael, and we are artists and owners of Devalia in Chester, Vermont.
What we're standing in now is something that we've dreamed about for 20 years. We've been together for about 20 years.
I think people they're spending so much time in their home now. They're working from home. Before, I think a lot of people just spent very little time. Now they're realizing like my space doesn't feel good, or the pieces that I have don't make me happy anymore, and I really just want to be happy. And we can't travel, we can't go out to eat. We have a little bit of extra money where before maybe to buy a painting felt like a big deal. Now it's like, you know what, life's short, we have this money, let's do it.
Because of COVID, I'm doing this one project I'm on now. It's a custom desk. It's for an 11-year-old boy, and after being schooled at home, realizing the desk is really important, and I'm designing a desk for him to be for him for the rest of his life. It's a modular desk that hopefully he'll have to pass on to his next generation.
COVID really did help us evaluate where we wanted to be spending our time and our energy and what was really important to us. And although I seem like we're working more than ever, it's on like our terms. It's stuff that like we want to be doing. And instead of being open 7 days a week, we're only open 3 days a week. So we can actually be artists again, which we really stopped doing because there's so much business going on. And we didn't get into this to be business owners. We're artists. So for me to go, you know what, I only want to be in retail 3 days a week and then be able to do my art 5 days a week or 4 days a week. That to me was huge. And saying, we're going to be okay. We don't need to, this will be just fine, and let's be happy.
I'm Dwayne Barone, the owner of Caledonia Counseling and the executive director and founder of Student Athletes for Healthy Relationships.
So what would you recommend to people that are stuck home in isolation during the pandemic? Is there anything in regards to volunteering that you might suggest? What comes to mind?
One of the things that helps us the most is really helping other people. This might be the time where somebody could volunteer with a school. They might be able to volunteer through a church. There's a lot of churches that are trying to help the homeless right now because there's a lot of folks that are really disadvantaged through this current situation of unemployment. The smallest things could probably make a big difference in their lives. If you could cook an extra meal for somebody, if you could make a pan of lasagna and drop it off, even a tray of cookies would probably make some nurses feel really damn good right now.
My name is Vonda McPherson. I'm the owner of Vonda K's Catering and Events, along with Vonda's Kitchen. You have to be open to accommodate the customer is important because they have limited finances at this time because some of them are laid off or whatever. So we stepped up the way that we do a lot of our dishes. We give more food. If we see a mother with 2 children, maybe she can eat off 1 plate versus just making small portions. We try to give a little, and that has really helped us. We're here. You have to do your part so everybody survives this.
I'm Judy Bachman. I'm one of the 2 founders of the Stand Up Retirement Foundation. We're here in Cream Ridge, New Jersey. So unfortunately during COVID, the owner of the facility, he closed the whole farm down. Well, we had one silver lining, and that is we had a huge uptick in people wanting to foster our horses. We have about 80 horses here right now. They're all bred for the purpose of racing. Many of them now retire when they're as young as 5. And when they retire, there's no outlet for them. Racing hasn't provided an outlet for them. So individually, they are typically sold to the rural communities. And in the rural communities, they're still using horses as equipment. So when they're done with them, in their mid to late teens, they sell them at a livestock auction. There's no home for them. There's no one there buying them. So we step in and we take them. So they're not shipped for slaughter. The Newark, New Jersey Police Department have 10 of our horses on patrol. We have horses down with the Texas Sheriff's Department. New York City Mounted Unit has our horses as well. Our volunteers often tell me how it's changed their lives. A lot of them feel like they didn't know they were missing something, but when they come here, it fills them up. It makes them feel so good because these horses are so needy and they need the volunteers. So it makes you feel good.
My name's Robin Conrad, and this is my dog, Princess. So I met Princess volunteering here at Marty's place and spent some time with the dogs. When COVID hit, we had to send dogs out to foster. Princess came home with me as a foster, ended up staying.
I'm Doreen Jacobak, the founder and executive director of Marty's Place Senior Dog Sanctuary. Based on our mission, we focus on dogs 7 and older, active adult to near hospice. We did at the beginning of the year have an objective to create and implement a foster program. The pandemic accelerated all of that. When we realized we had to reduce our operation, we moved half of our dogs into the homes of some of our volunteers as fosters. And through that, though, we saw our foster program just grow and become reality.
It's made a big difference. I transitioned to working from home part-time before COVID, and then when COVID hit, I was home every day. I have 2 other rescues at home as well, just to have reasons to get out and walk every day. Marty's Place has helped as well in being able to come down and volunteer and still have a little human interaction as well as dog interaction. So it's been important to have her home, and she's become my office buddy and sits right in front of the desk all day.
And that's a jewelry box, so I don't know where that should go.
Natalie Maniscalco, co-founder of Wonder Girls. Wonder Girls was created because there's such a need to help young girls develop the necessary skills that they need, both from a personal and a professional standpoint. According to studies, 7 in 10 girls do not feel good enough. And this is something that Wonder Girls is aiming to change. Today, the girls are working with a nonprofit organization to help women in need. We're collecting gently used professional clothing, where the girls are packing and organizing clothes for the Women's Rights Center in Bergen County.
My name is Irene Zervudis. I am the mom of 3 beautiful teenage daughters, Angelina, Victoria, and Stella, or Stiliani. I want my daughters to be strong and independent girls and turn into strong and independent women. And that has to start in the home, but it also comes from outside the home, from your community, from your teachers, from different mentors that you incorporate into your life.
When people are donating all these very nice things, it makes me realize that I'm so grateful that I can get these nice things, but that other people can't exactly get them.
Yeah, thankful, because I can get these types of things, but like Stella was saying, it makes you more aware people can't always get that type of stuff, so it's a nice thing to do.
What's it like to be a Wonder Girl?
It's amazing, honestly. I get to be a part of these wonderful events. I'm building community with these wonderful girls that I just met, and it's nice just all getting along and doing something for a greater cause.
Oh, that's cute. I did it. Oh, that's so cute. That's a cute pie.
We were getting so caught up with division, racism, systemic racism in the church, even in our government, and people just started looking at people as opportunities and not human beings. And I think the pandemic has caused all of us to tap back into the humanity that we have, regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of where you grew up at. And this has been a giant reset button for families to come back together, for marriages to find out how strong you are, for parents to get more involved with your kids, because we were all running this rat race and just trying to make so much money and get the house and the car, and we got that, but we didn't realize how damaging it was to the relational aspect of our lives, which is why we were created anyway, to be relational with one another. So now I'm going to show you guys how to make the world famous all things banana pudding. I'll do maybe 1.5, but we're going to do 2 right there. 2 capfuls vanilla extract, about 2 tablespoons. And I like my bananas nice and thin. And there you have the all things banana pudding.